The vanishing. The galaxy woke to silence. Across hundreds of alien worlds, scanners and long-range satellites searched for signals from Earth's fleet. For decades, humanity had kept a fleet of powerful ships orbiting their homeworld. Everyone in the galaxy knew about it. The fleet was not the largest, but it was famous. Humans had a strange way of fighting wars, never by numbers, always by clever tricks. That fleet had once defeated armadas 10 times its size, but today it was gone. On the screens of alien commanders, the usual human codes were missing. The bright dots of warships on star charts had vanished overnight. No explosion fields, no distress calls. Nothing. It was as if Earth had pulled its ships into the dark and erased them from existence. In the Council Hall of Zyros, alien leaders gathered in disbelief. Tall insectoid ministers clicked their mandibles, cold reptilian. Generals hissed with laughter, and glowing-eyed diplomats smirked at the empty star maps. Humans are careless, one alien said. Perhaps they lost control of their machines. Another replied, or maybe they were destroyed in secret. Who would miss them? Their species is still young, still reckless. Laughter echoed across the chamber, but not everyone was laughing. At the far edge of the hall sat a young officer from a small aquatic species. His name was Luro. He had studied human history for years, fascinated by their battles. He remembered the siege of Calthor, when humans hid their ships in asteroid shadows and appeared at the last moment to crush a superior fleet. He remembered the Battle of the Void Rift, when humans tricked enemies into firing at phantom signals, wasting all their weapons on empty space. Humans never lost ships without reason. Luro shifted uneasily in his seat. Honored Council, he said softly, do you not feel this is strange? An entire fleet does not vanish overnight. What if this is another strategy? The chamber grew quiet for a moment. Some eyes turned toward him, but then the laughter returned, louder than before. A strategy? A reptilian general mocked. Do you suggest that humans ran away to play hide-and-seek? Their kind does not understand true war. Yet even as they mocked, a faint tension spread. No one could explain the disappearance. The fleet had been seen, one day gone the next. No trace left behind. Far from the council hall on border stations along the Orion Arm, alien patrol ships whispered about strange signals. A merchant convoy swore they had seen a shadow move across the stars, larger than any ship, but it vanished before scanners confirmed it. A patrol crew claimed they heard faint human codes in the static of deep space, like a ghost voice calling, from nowhere. Fear spread quietly. Soldiers joked loudly in the mess halls, but their eyes flicked to the shadows outside. Commanders told their crews to stay alert, though they did not say why. And on Earth itself, the planet looked calm. Civilian transmissions carried songs, markets buzzed with trade, and humans acted as if nothing unusual had happened. To the outside galaxy, it seemed almost too calm, like a stage set before the curtain lifted. Luro sat alone that night, staring at the black star map on his console. His instincts screamed at him. Humans were hiding something. He remembered an old human phrase he had once read, "The quiet before the storm." In the deep silence of the galaxy, he felt the storm was coming. The Council's fear, the Council. Hall was filled with noise. Voices of 100 alien species rose and fell, echoing across the crystal dome. Holograms of the vanished human fleet flickered in the air. Thousands of ships once orbiting Earth, now reduced to empty space on the star charts. They are gone, a scaled ambassador shouted, his long tail lashing against the floor. Humans are not a threat anymore. We can finally move without fear of their tricks. Others agreed. Some even cheered. But deep down, none of them truly believed it. Every species in the galaxy had heard stories of human wars. Their fleets were smaller, their weapons older, but their strategies terrifying. Humans turned weakness into strength. They used silence as a weapon. They used patience as a blade. Entire empires had been humiliated by one single human maneuver, and now those same humans had made their entire fleet vanish. The council tried to laugh. Yet the sound of laughter carried unease. At the center of the hall stood Chancellor Vaith, a tall insectoid whose crystal wings shimmered under the lights. His voice was sharp and clear as he silenced the noise. "Do not fool yourselves," Vaith said. "This is not an accident, not a disappearance. It is a message." The room grew cold. A reptilian general slammed his clawed hand on the table. "Nonsense. If the humans had power, they would show it. Why hide?" Vaith's wings flicked. "Why hide? That is exactly their strength. They let us believe what they want us to believe. And while we argue, they prepare something greater." Silence followed his words. Luro, the young aquatic officer, watched the faces around him. Some shifted nervously, others avoided eye contact. Only the arrogant generals kept pretending to smile. Reports began to arrive one after another. A scout, shipped near the Vega line, claimed to see human vessels for a brief moment, then lost all contact. A merchant convoy near Danube reported ghost signals surrounding their path. A border station swore they were shadowed by invisible ships, their sensors failing one by one. Every report ended the same way. No proof, no evidence, just fear. Still, fear was enough. The council began to argue louder. Should they send fleets to Earth? Should they demand answers? Should they prepare for war? Every option carried danger. What if the humans were waiting for them to move first? What if this was a trap? In the shadows of the hall, Luro whispered to himself, "They want us to doubt. They want us to fear." For centuries, the galaxy had seen humans as unpredictable, but now they seemed untouchable. An invisible fleet was far more dangerous than a visible one. You could fight ships you could see. But how could you fight shadows? The reptilian general tried again to push for action. "Strike Earth before they strike us," he roared. "Burn their cities, force them to reveal their ships." But no one supported him. Not this time. Even those who hated humans most kept quiet, because deep in their minds they remembered battles where rushing forward against humans had ended in disaster. Instead, Chancellor Vaith leaned forward. "We will wait. We will listen. We will not provoke. If we attack blindly, we may be playing into their hands, and if this is a test, then we must survive it." The decision was made. Silence for silence. Watch, but do not move. Yet the galaxy was restless. Citizens on alien worlds whispered rumors. Soldiers refused to patrol near human borders. Traders changed their routes, afraid of ghost fleets stalking the void. Fear spread faster than truth, and on Earth transmissions remained calm. Humans said nothing, no explanations, no denials. Just silence. That silence was worse than war. Luro left the hall after the session ended. He stepped into the cold corridors of the council station, his mind racing. The galaxy's greatest powers were pretending to be brave, but he saw the truth. They were afraid. More afraid than they had ever been. He remembered the human phrase again. The quiet before the storm. The question was not if the storm would come. The question was when. The silent sky, the galaxy tried to return to normal. Trade routes reopened. Patrol fleets spread out. The council pretended calm. But in the dark between the stars, silence grew heavier each day. On the edges of the Orion Arm, alien ships began to vanish. The first was a patrol cruiser near the Epsilon Gate. Its final transmission was a single burst of static, then nothing. No wreckage. No survivors. Only a frozen beacon light drifting alone in space. The second was a convoy of merchant ships. They swore they saw lights, blue flares, moving fast across the void. At first they thought it was pirates, but when they scanned, the space was empty. Still, the lights followed them for 2 days. Then one ship disappeared from the formation. No distress call. Just gone. By the time the convoy limped back to port, every crew member whispered the same phrase. They are watching us. News spread, quickly though the council tried to suppress it. Rumors grew louder. The humans had not vanished, they had learned how to hide in plain sight. Some claimed the humans had cloaked their fleet. Others swore they had moved into a dimension just beyond vision. Whatever the truth, fear ate into every border world. On a border station near Deneb, Commander Val stared at his screen late one night. The radar pulsed normally. Empty space. Nothing unusual. Yet his instincts twisted in his chest. Then he saw it, just for a second. A faint outline, like a shadow brushing across the stars. The system tagged it as a sensor error, but Val knew better. He leaned forward, whispering to himself, "You're out there, aren't you?" The shadow blinked once more, then it was gone. That same night, soldiers on the station reported hearing strange sounds in the comms, deep human voices echoing through static. Words they could not understand, broken by interference but still sharp enough to chill their bones. Across the galaxy, the pattern repeated. Fleets chasing ghost signals, convoys stalked by invisible watchers, entire outposts reporting footsteps in empty corridors and voices whispering across dead channels. Always no proof. Always no trace. The council dismissed the reports as hysteria, but the soldiers knew. The traitors knew. The humans were still there. And then came the incident at Drazen Nebula. A squadron of 5 alien warships patrolled the nebula's edge, their lights cutting through the glowing gas. The commander ordered a sweep, routine, simple. But one by one, the ships began to drop off the radar. First ship, silence. Second ship, no response. Third ship, a scream cut through the comm before the signal broke. The last 2 ships panicked. Engines roared as they tried to escape the nebula. The commander shouted orders, his voice cracking. "Stay in formation. We'll break free together." But then the fog parted, and something was there. Not a nebula, not a star. A shape. A massive shape, dark against the glowing gas. Larger than any alien vessel. Smooth, silent, gliding through space like a predator in water. The alien commander froze. His blood turned cold. "It's them," he whispered. The shadow turned and vanished into the mist. The 2 surviving ships escaped, but their crews never forgot what they saw. They told the galaxy of a hidden fleet moving through the stars, like ghosts. A fleet that did not fire, did not announce itself, only watched. Fear became terror. Worlds along the human border emptied their colonies. Trade collapsed. Armies refused to patrol without massive reinforcements. And still, humanity said nothing. Not a single word. Back in the council hall, Luro stood before the ministers once again. His voice trembled, but his eyes burned with certainty. This is not an accident. This is not madness, this is control. The humans are not lost. They are everywhere. The council tried to deny it, but deep inside they knew the truth. The galaxy was no longer their own. Every shadow could hide a human ship. Every silence could carry a human message. The galaxy was being haunted, not by ghosts, but by humans. Humanity's secret. The galaxy trembled under silence. Patrols vanished. Convoys whispered about shadows. Whole worlds stopped sleeping at night, afraid to look at the dark sky above. Still, no one knew the truth, until the council captured a human. It happened near the Vega corridor. An alien squadron stumbled upon a lone human shuttle drifting without power. At first they thought it was bait, a trap. But when they pulled the shuttle inside their hangar, they found only one man. He was calm. Too calm. His uniform was torn, his face bruised, but his eyes burned with quiet fire. The council dragged him into their grand chamber, desperate for answers. Generals, diplomats, ministers, all crowded in. For weeks they had argued, afraid, broken by invisible enemies. Now here stood a real human, living proof. The reptilian general slammed his claws on the table. "Where is your fleet? Where are your ships hiding?" The human only smiled. "We know they vanished," another minister demanded. "Tell us where they went." or you will not leave this hall alive." Still, the man said nothing. He stood tall, in his chains, like the room itself belonged to him. At last, Chancellor Vaith leaned forward. "Speak, for your species' sake." The man finally moved. His lips curled into a faint grin, and his voice was low, steady, and sharp enough to cut the silence. "You think we vanished?" He paused, his gaze sweeping across the room. "No. We moved." A ripple of unease spread through the chamber. The general hissed. "Moved? To where? Speak clearly." The man's smile widened. "Beyond your maps." The council erupted in shouts. Some cried lies, others screamed for execution. But Vaith raised a hand, silencing them. His wings flicked nervously, but he forced his voice to remain firm. "Explain yourself." The human's eyes gleamed. "You watch borders, trade routes, patrol lines. You measure space like a cage. We broke the cage. We took our fleet where your scanners cannot follow, where your minds cannot imagine. And while you argue here in fear, we are building." The words hung heavy, like a weight no one could lift. Luro, standing at the back, felt his blood run cold. "Building? What were they building?" The prisoner continued, his voice like thunder in the stillness. "For centuries you mocked us. You laughed at our small fleets, our fragile world, our simple tools. But we learned. We adapted. We prepared. The fleet you seek is not lost. It is waiting. And when the time comes..." He leaned forward, chains rattling as his eyes locked onto the council. "You will not be ready." The chamber froze. Not one dared to breathe. The reptilian general finally roared in rage, slamming his fist again. Bluff, lies, empty human words. But even his voice shook. The man chuckled softly. "Believe what you want. It changes nothing. We do not need you to believe. We only need you to wait." And then he fell silent. No threats, no more explanations. Just silence. That silence spread through the chamber like poison. Ministers exchanged fearful glances. Some whispered about striking Earth before it was too late. Others begged to retreat, to stay quiet, to survive. But none of them could erase the man's words. Beyond your maps. Building. Waiting. Later. When guards dragged the human back to his cell, Luro caught his eye. For a heartbeat, the man looked straight at him. And in that look, Luro felt something he could not explain. Pity. As if the human was not a prisoner at all, but a teacher watching children fail a test. That night, across the galaxy, new rumors began to spread. Some said the humans had built a secret empire beyond the stars. Others swore they had unlocked hidden technologies, ships that could fold shadows, weapons that could strike without sound. None of it could be proven. But it did not matter. The galaxy no longer feared what had happened. It feared what was coming. The return for weeks, the galaxy lived in fear. Every shadow in the sky felt dangerous. Every signal on a scanner looked like a human ghost. Still, no attack came. Silence stretched, longer, sharper, heavier. And then, it broke. It began on the outer rim of the Xylar Empire. A fleet of 30 alien warships patrolled the borders, their weapons ready. Suddenly, alarms screamed across every deck. Thousands of signatures appeared out of nowhere. Ships, vast and countless, materializing all around them. They were human, but not the same ships the galaxy remembered. These were different, sleeker, larger, brighter, with lines of energy running across their hulls. They moved with impossible grace, like predators dancing through water. Their engines made no sound. Their weapons glowed with quiet menace. The Xylar commander tried to give orders, but his voice choked in his throat. His fleet was surrounded in seconds, every direction blocked. Yet the humans did not fire. They just stood in silence, their ships forming a perfect cage. And then the signal came. Not an attack code, not a threat, just a message, broadcast across the galaxy in every language at once. "Now you will listen." The words froze entire worlds. On council planets, leaders dropped to silence. On border stations, soldiers stared at the comm screens with wide eyes. On trade routes, merchants stopped mid-course, unable to breathe. Everywhere, all at once, human fleets appeared. In the nebulae, in the asteroid belts, above gas giants, even in the skies of neutral worlds where no human had been seen before. They did not fire a shot. They did not demand surrender. They only appeared and waited. The galaxy had no defense. On the council station, Chancellor Vaith stood trembling as reports flooded in. Hundreds of fleets, thousands of ships, no warning, no time to react. Humanity had not vanished. They had multiplied, upgraded, and returned with force beyond imagination. Luro stood at the window of the council tower, watching as the stars filled with human vessels. He could not count them. They stretched across the void like an ocean of fire. His heart raced not with hatred, not even with fear, but with awe. The council chamber collapsed into chaos. Generals shouted to prepare defenses, but their voices were weak. Ministers begged for negotiations, but none knew how to begin. And then the human broadcast continued. For too long, you dismissed us. You called us reckless, fragile, unworthy of the stars. Yet while you mocked, we prepared. While you fought each other, we built together. We left your maps because your maps are too small. Now we return, not to beg, not to bow, but to speak. From this moment forward, humanity will not be ignored. The words carried no anger, no shouting, just calm, certainty. And that calm was more terrifying than war. Across the galaxy, ordinary aliens listened. Farmers in distant colonies, traders on lonely routes, soldiers in cold bunkers. They all realized the same truth. Humanity was not asking permission. Humanity was declaring presence. On some worlds, fear turned to panic. Citizens ran to shelters, afraid the next moment would bring destruction. On others, silence hung heavy, like the galaxy itself was holding its breath. But the humans never attacked. They didn't need to. The sight of their endless fleets was enough. The silence of their discipline was enough. The certainty in their message was enough. The reptilian general, once so arrogant, now sat in stunned silence. His claws trembled against the table. Even he knew resistance was useless. At the far corner, Luro whispered the words humans had taught him. The quiet before the storm. Only now he understood. The storm had already come. It was not fire, not destruction. It was control. Humanity had stepped beyond weakness, beyond doubt, beyond the maps of the galaxy. They had vanished not to hide, but to return greater than anyone could imagine. The galaxy was left speechless. And in that silence, one truth rang louder than any weapon. The age of humanity had begun.